So, short stream. Not intending to solve anything today, but I just want to sort of show off some of the optimizations and stuff that we've developed recently. So the first thing is that there's a sort of new last two centers technique. If you've seen me do solves, you've seen this already, but I'll just explain it for those who haven't seen. So, you know the standard stuff. You do it column by column, and you do 3 RU R prime things to try to find pieces. So like you bring all the bad pieces over, then you try to find good pieces and bring them back. You do that 3 times. So here the good pieces are orange and the bad pieces are blue. Pretty standard. But the thing is, if you only do this 3 times because after that you're not looking at anything new. But so you've done it 3 times and maybe you still have a piece that's unsolved. So we used to do something that involved like Y2s and stuff. The new version is like this. You do U2, RU2, R prime, basically. So you bring in this top column that is now, like this column was on the back, but now it's on top, and you just replace it with this. And then you fix these U layers, and then you undo it. R, U2, R prime, U2. And finally, R. So you notice I didn't have to do any rotations there, and I only had to do the U-turns once. So let's do another column. We'll probably see it again. 1, 2, 3. That's it. So now we solve these 4 all at once. U2, R prime. Solve them, and undo it. And then solve that layer. So, yeah, very easy. A lot more efficient than what we used to do. And then, you don't have to worry. 1, 2, U2, R prime. Solve them. R, U2, R prime, U2, and an R. So yeah, that's the last 2 edges method. I can do it again just to demonstrate it because it's pretty fast. Let me just do that. I'll just flip it 180 just so we've like a different case. And so you especially on small cubes, you'll often find that the first three things like solve all the pieces. But if they don't, then that's when you use the new algorithm. And also on the middle layer, on an odd cube, you kind of have to do it the old way. But this is good for even cubes and also for the second half of odd cubes. So here's another one: U2R prime. So it's like a little more moves than the normal thing, but it is much more efficient than the old one. Especially if you have a lot of slices that you're doing at once. Because you only do the slices. You only move them once. So yeah. Next I want to go into edges. I want to show, especially show Soup. He's the one who really needs to know this, but first off, you only need to look at one edge at once. Let's just highlight that by bringing one edge onto the screen. So this is the only one we need to look at, essentially. And obviously we're solving one pair of colors at once. So let's do like white-orange. So we're going to put white on the bottom and orange on top. And this edge is correct, this edge is flipped. So you solve all the correct edges from the end layer. So here's the correct edge, and nothing else. So this is the edge we're solving to. You don't need to look at it because anything on there is correct, anything not on there is bad. So you solve all the ones with the correct orientation. Now you do the ones with the wrong orientation on the same M layer. So do an F2, and that flips both of these edges. And so then you could search, are there any? No, we're good. And you do a U2, and that flips these two edges. This edge, the edge on the back here, let me just zoom out a bit. So the edge on the back here has been flipped twice. Basically, we did that. So this edge, do F2, it's over here, flipped. U2, it's over here, unflipped. But that's okay because we already cleaned it out. The point is to get this edge flipped. Because now when we do those, we bring those two pieces into it, into the edge we're solving to. So I'll just repeat that. The first step is to remove all the edges of the color pair we're solving from the middle layer onto the edge we're solving to. Let's do white-orange again. That one's wrong. This one's right. Then we look at this edge. We look at this edge with the opposite of the edge we're solving to. Do an F2. That one, nothing here. Do a U2, nothing here. So we're good. So the middle layer is clear of white-orange edges. Now you put it on the bottom front, and we do just a U. And so now we have to clear these two edges. So here's that. And you do a an R2 to clear that one. Once you've cleared all the ones that are oriented correctly, you just do a U2, and now clear the ones that are oriented incorrectly. So now you've solved not only edges from the middle layer, but also from both of these U edges. And now there's just the three edges on each side, like these three, and then, these three, and then these three. So you do like RU, and then solve anything from here. RU, RU, 3 times. And each time you solve an edge when it appears here. So this one's the right orientation. But suppose it was like this, it's the wrong orientation. So you just do a U2 and solve it like that. Boom. So you see we're getting there. And then once you've done the right face, you do L. L prime, U prime. L prime, U prime. Solve that. L prime, U prime. Solve that. So that's 3 times. And here's the edge. Put it anywhere on the left face and do the same thing. So let's do white-blue. Solve the ones with the correct orientation first, then look at the opposite edge. So we're solving to here, so we're looking at this edge. F2, solve, solve, U2, nothing, okay. Go back. Do a U. Solve everything of the correct orientation, do a U2, solve everything of the wrong orientation. And then RU, oh, this is wrong, we do a U2 and solve it. RU, this is wrong, do a U2, solve it. RU, okay, we're done. L prime, not this one, because this one's already solved. L prime, U prime. L prime, U prime, and we're done. Look at that, there's the edge. And so it's the same thing. I'll just go through a little quickly. You can go a little faster when you have a small cube because you don't need to look at everything. You can sort of just see it. But on a bigger cube, you want to be like super careful that you don't miss anything. And basically the first 7 edges are just the same. You just have fewer and fewer things that, like more and more is solved, so less and less to worry about. Put 3 on the left, then the next 3 you build on the right. Pretty standard stuff. I'm just going to go all the way through to the last 3 edges, which are tricky. Oh yeah, also, sometimes when you think you've cleared everything, you might still have some extra because they're flipped behind it, right? So like, this is us, we're solving here, front, bottom, but you might end up with some in the back bottom that are misoriented. So all you do once you've looked at everything is you just go to it, do like a back to basically, and then solve whatever's there. But here we just forgot something and we could just find it because it's a small cube. But on a big cube you have to be careful because you're gonna lose the pieces and it's gonna take a little while. And I usually solve white and yellow first because those stand out to me. But you can do any order you like. Okay, here's a good example of, we didn't solve this one, but now that we did, we've got this one extra, which we just have to insert. So you've done 7, and now it's the same thing for clearing, for the 8th one, it's the same thing for clearing the M slice. Flip. Flip. Oh, look at that, that cleared up one of these. So we could just flip it and insert it. But then, once you've done the M slice, then you have to insert this last edge and just solve it. And we lost one here. And then you insert that one into the left. The 8th edge is the same as the 7th edge, you just don't have to insert. Pretty easy stuff. So now the 9th edge, right? This one can be a little tricky. The last 3 edges is like when you start to run out of room, right? You can't turn the M slice freely anymore because you have an edge there. But what you can do is RU2 R prime. Like RU2 R prime at any point, because that fixes, that doesn't R, it brings a piece out, but then it fixes it. So like here we notice we want to solve like green up, orange bottom. So basically we put that on the front bottom, and then on the front top, find any green top, orange bottom. And then do U2, R prime. And you can also freely do U2s, but we run out of pieces like that. So now you flip this edge, which you can do D, F prime, R, F. And now it's orange top, green bottom. So we can insert all the orange top, green bottom pieces. U2, R prime, U2, R. You can do 2 at once if you want, whatever. U2, R prime. Oh, look at that. This one's green top, orange bottom. It's the wrong orientation, so we have to flip this again. That'll happen. That's fine. And then insert it. Boom. So that's the 9th edge. I mean the 10th edge. And 11 and 12 are special. So just pick any pair of colors, like red and blue, and don't worry about the orientation yet. Now find any red and blue on the right half only. Bring them down no matter what. Just bring them down. Then flip this edge. And then bring them back up. And you can tell which ones to bring back up because they'll have some wrong color pair. Okay? Now flip this edge, ignoring, you don't have to worry about slices here, so just, you can do a 4 move one. Then bring all of the red blue down. Bring them up. Now flip this edge, and then do that again. So let me just set up another last 2 edges situation. Because this is like it's kind of a weird method, but it's really efficient. And it's like really, really like, you don't have to think very much. Okay, so we're going to solve all the blue and red to the bottom here. We bring all the blue and red on only the right half down for the first step. So just these 2, not these 2. Then flip this edge. Then bring them back up. After that, flip this edge no matter what. Then bring all of them down on both sides. Flip it, bring it back up. Flip it, and you would do that again. All of them on both sides. Just set up another one because that one was a little easy. And yeah, I'm trying to explain some of the nuances to my friends. Let's see here. Alright, how about this? So let's do blue-red again. Just the right half, bring them down, flip this, bring them up. Damn, that was still too easy. Okay, let's do it like this. So, first part, right half down, flip it, bring them up, flip the bottom, now bring on both sides down, just all of them. Flip it, bring it up. It's okay if you still have some left. Do that again, flip it, both of them on the things on all sides down, flip it, and bring them back up. So that should sort the pieces, those 3 steps. And then finally, you just have to do sort of the 2 parities. So do something like this. Just bring all the bad pieces down, flip it, bring the bad pieces up. So that solves 11. And then 12 is just the standard parity. And then 3 by 3 or whatever. So I hope that explained it to Soup. It's a little complicated. I also want to go over some of the new techniques. So Soup had this technique for a while of doing the 3 by 3 at the very end. I wasn't a huge fan, but the idea is that we do a lot of swapping centers, so like this or that. But the idea is that the problem is that swapping centers messes up edges and corners. So if you do 3 by 3 at the beginning, you have to make sure to undo all your swaps. So if you do stuff like this, blah blah blah, this is going to mess up your 3 by 3. And if you don't undo it just right, if you make a mistake, let's say you do this, accidentally do that, and then you undo it, and now your 3 by 3 messed up. And so you can solve it, but it might take 30 seconds or whatever. So the idea with Soup's method is you just solve 3 by 3 at the very end, which I didn't like, but the reason I don't like it is because then you don't have this nice cage that you can look at, and that tells you if you made a mistake or not, or it tells you where you are. But you can leave the 3 by 3 to the end, it's a little faster. But then there's this new method that Soup came up with, where you actually leave all the edges until after the first 2 centers. So I'll just do a quick sample solve. And the weird idea with this is that the first step is first center clearing. So it looks weird because you're just sort of doing random slice moves and nothing's solved yet. So here I am clearing the first center. It just looks like, alright, what am I doing? And I'm just solving white pieces. And then I do some commutators and solve the rest of the white pieces. And here, I can swap 2 centers and not have to unswap them. That's the bonus of this. So whenever I swap 2 centers, instead of normally I would have to unswap them and make sure to preserve the 3 by 3, but I don't have to do that. And also when I clear, that would mess up these middle edges, but I don't have to then undo that. So again here, I'm going to clear this center. I don't care what happens to the edges because they're not even solved yet. Also, I don't recommend this for really big cubes because you're going to lose track of where you are. But for, a 30 by 30 or less or something, if you're not scrolling the screen around, you can generally keep track of what column you're on. And this is not bad. So that's clearing the second center. Now I can swap centers, and again, I don't care what happens to the edges. I don't need to unswap. And that comes in really handy with the second one because we're going to do all kinds of swaps in like all weird directions. So like we swap to the back. And then as soon as the yellow center is done, we could just swap it over here. And that's it. I've messed up, but that's okay. So now we got our two centers solved, and edges are completely unsolved. We don't have to fix them or anything. We don't have to do 3x3. We just start doing edges right now. And the thing is, that's actually not any more difficult than it normally is, because normally we sort of use the M layer a lot, and we don't do any other slice moves. And so the M layer is still free. So that doesn't even slow us down. So definitely a worthwhile improvement. And also, Soup's method of leaving the 3x3 to the end cannot be done on odd cubes, because center swaps on odd cubes do mess up the 3x3. They mess up the middle layer edges. But this thing can be done on odd cubes because it really doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing that odd cubes need to do with the edges before the first two centers. So this is still safe to do on odd cubes. It does improve the time. I don't know how much time it saves, but it could be like a minute or something. Like, it's significant. Especially since you don't have to realign the M layer edges after clearing. So yeah, just standard edges. As you can see, nothing is different than the normal edges. And again, last three edges, we just do we pick a color pair, like a red, green. Here's one, U2R, U2R prime. Flip, R, U2R prime. And just for that last gray one here. And then same thing, last three, bring down only the right half, flip, bring it up, flip, both halves, flip, flip again, bring it down, like that. And then yeah, edges, and then 3x3. So yeah, this is still cage. It's just a improved way of doing it. One annoying thing is if you have parity, you could do it on the M layer, or you could just do the normal 4x4 method. Whoops, which I messed up. But yeah, so parity, you could reorient to do it on the M layer and save some moves, or you could just do the normal big cube parity. And then yeah, once you've got all that done, you just continue your normal method. But here I can also go over something new we've added in ISO version 3 based on something in BenSim. So BenSim added projections, which is basically different ways of viewing the cube. I can show you that. I have BenSim open also. Or not open, but I have it over here. So the idea is that you've got your cube, but you can view it in a bunch of different ways. So here I just have a bunch preloaded. So you can define custom ways of looking at the cube, which then are all perfectly functional. But the new idea is that there's this one face view. And you'd say, why do I only want to look at one face? That's less information. Because all the center methods for this cage method only need one face. So let's clear orange. we're doing it basically a row at a time. So we just do like an R2 U prime and do this row, this row, this row, this row, this row, this row, and then we fix the edges. So we've done some clearing, and we only need to look at one face at a time. And so the real benefit is that A, it's like a cleaner view. So if you look at the regular view, there's like diagonals and stuff, so you have to like be a little careful about how you move your mouse. But in this, it's nice, like horizontal, vertical. So that's a lot easier. And also the pieces are bigger. Like you can compare the size of one of these pieces to like this weird diagonal thing. And so if you're doing like a really big cube, if you're doing like a 40 by 40, like this, this is actually way more doable than this. Like the targets are significantly bigger. So that's the real benefit. And especially if you have your window wide enough that this isn't in the way, like this is a really way more efficient way of doing things. So I highly recommend that. You can do this way for like just edges, and then once you're doing centers, you just switch to this way. And so on my sim, it's a hotkey 1. So just the 1 key flips it. And all that does is just makes everything bigger, makes it easier to see, and doesn't really get in the way with the current method. I also wanted to show off that there's supercubes now. So that's cool. It took a while to make work, but we finally have regular and supercubes in the same simulator. One this big has never been solved, but I probably will eventually. And there's these like Pachman stickers, but there's also arrow stickers, which just all point the same way. So, use whatever you prefer. This also supports the one center viewing. So there's Pachman, and there's arrows. So yeah, and also center guides. This is a little weird on the supercube sim, but basically the idea is just to show where the center is. So like if you're on an odd cube, it's really important. So like, suppose you're in the middle of a solve. Where's the center? I want to swap two edges. I want to swap two centers. Normally you'd have to like search around, like, oh, is that the right one? But instead you just, here it is, boom, and you can easily swap the two centers without worrying about it. You could say this is like cheating or whatever because it's something we didn't have before, but this, like, you could easily do this on a real cube. Just like sticker it a little differently, add a logo or highlighter or whatever. So this doesn't change the solve at all, just makes it easier to see what you're doing. And this also works here, just like this gives an easier sense of where things are. It's like if we're zoomed in a little, you can say like, oh, like for example, let me just change this a little here. So normally we have a lot of commutators that are like R2 U prime R2 U, right? But those only work if you're outside of the middle row. If you try to do that on the middle row, it'll just do stuff like this. It won't actually, like, we have an orange piece here, we can solve it. But if we have an orange piece here in the middle row, there's an orange piece here in the middle row. We can't solve it like that. That doesn't actually bring it in here. So this center guideline just like makes it a lot easier to see where the middle row is, and hopefully solve some time. It seems to save time for me. So yeah, that should be an overview of the stuff we've discovered since the last time. I'm working on a supercube method, but I really have to do a lot more playing around with it to figure out what works and what doesn't. But it should be interesting. It's based on a lot around the full clear method for normal cubes, because that seems fastest. But yeah. Hopefully this helps someone, especially Soup, because he has trouble with edges. So, bye-bye. That's all I'm going to do today.